I'm so pleased to now introduce another member of the ABC News team, Dan Harris. Dan Harris is co-anchor of ABC News Nightline and the weekend editions of Good Morning America. Dan is also an advocate for mental health awareness. His best-selling book, 10% Happier, a true story about his journey through the worlds of spirituality and self-help, explores his discovery of a truly sustainable way to get happier. He pursued this quest after having a live on-air panic attack. Dan Harris, welcome to Healthline.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's jump in. In 2004, on Good Morning America, you had a panic attack on live television. Many anxiety and panic sufferers can probably relate to the helplessness of experiencing a panic attack, but not many can relate to having it on live television. Can you talk a little bit about that moment and the moments that followed?
Yeah, so I was, this was summer of 2004, and I was filling in for Robin Roberts, who was at that point what's called the newsreader. So her job was to come on at the top of each hour and read off some of the headlines. Now she's the main host of the show, but at this time she was the newsreader, and I was filling in for her. And I didn't have any particular reason to be nervous that day, but a few seconds into my little newscast, I really started to freak out. My heart started racing, my mouth dried up, my palms were sweating, my lungs seized up. I couldn't breathe, which is pretty inconvenient if you're trying to anchor the news. And I had to quit a little bit, just a few stories in. And as embarrassing as that was, even more embarrassing was what caused it. I had spent a lot of time at that point in my life as an ambitious young reporter in war zones, and I had come home and gotten depressed and had self-medicated with recreational drugs. And that I later learned was enough to change my brain chemistry and make it more likely for me to have that panic attack. So that really, it was horrible in the moment, but it really ended up changing my life positively.
Yeah, absolutely. And how did your colleagues respond after that? What happened immediately after?
Well, not much, frankly, because I wasn't honest about it. People asked me, everybody was compassionate. They asked, what happened? Can we help? And I didn't say that I had had a panic attack. I kind of tried to bluff my way through it and say that I'm not sure what happened. And I was able to go back on the air an hour later and I was fine. So in some ways I kind of got away with it. But what was happening behind the scenes was that I knew that I had had a panic attack. Hi, my son is here saying, hi, buddy. I knew I had had a panic attack and I was getting treatment for it and quitting drugs. That was all happening behind the scenes. And nobody knew about that part of the story until I wrote a whole book about it.
Yeah. And was that panic attack kind of the impetus for change for you? Did that turn the page, or was it some more time before you kind of got help?
Well, the panic attack got me into therapy and it got me quitting drugs. It wasn't until many years after that I found meditation. And that, by the time I found meditation, I was pretty stable, but I was also stressed just from everyday life. I have a high stress, fast-paced job as an ABC News anchor, and it's very competitive. And I would let that competition get to me and make me stressed and make me unpleasant. And I started to see some of the science around meditation. I should say I'm pretty skeptical by nature and was not really interested in meditation at all. To the extent that I was even aware of it, I thought it was kind of a new agey cliche. But I started to see the science that shows it can lower your blood pressure, boost your immune system, rewire key parts of your brain. That's the neuroplasticity that Jewel was talking about. And when I saw that research, I started to do it. And that has made a big change in my life for sure.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because in your book, 10% Happier, and on your app, you really seek to demystify meditation. And I know personally, like anytime I try, I find myself writing a list or, doing something I shouldn't be doing when I'm meditating. How did you overcome that, given how busy you are and all the things that you do?
So this is a very common misconception that people have that in order to meditate, you need to clear your mind. Clearing your mind is impossible unless you're enlightened or you have died. And so just know.
Uh-oh.
So what is meditation, really? Basic meditation involves sitting and trying to focus on one thing, usually. and fall. You don't have to manipulate it. You just breathe. You notice how it feels to be breathing. And then your mind is going to come in with all sorts of interruptions. You, as you said, you'll be making lists. You'll be planning some expletive-filled speech you're going to deliver to your boss. You're going to be having random thoughts about what's for lunch, where do gerbils run wild, blah, blah, blah. That is totally fine. That does not mean you are a failed meditator. In fact, the fact that you are noticing that your mind is wild is proof that you are meditating correctly. The point of meditation is the massage places at the airport. What the point of meditation is to focus your mind for a few nanoseconds at a time. And then when you get distracted, you start again and again and again. And it is the noticing of the distraction that is the money. That is the point. Because once you have more self-awareness, once you have more of a sense of how cacophonous and chaotic all of our minds are, then you are less owned by it. So if you're ambushed by a big bolt of anger in the middle of a conversation with somebody, you might.
Well, it looks like we're having some technical issues with Dan.
You don't have to get so carried away by boredom that you're eating 2 sleeves of Oreos, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of emotional regulation is invaluable.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for your words. The book is 10% Happier. And your comments have been so invaluable to our audience today, Dan.
Thank you.
Dan, Steve Swayze here. Thank you. And as to all the journalists, thank you for covering the news. We've had a lot during this broadcast, in fact. And we lost a little bit of your audio when you were speaking, but we got the gist of it. And 10% Happier is on our recommended list at Psych Central. We recommend books on our website, which Faye McRae is editor-in-chief of. So Dan Harris, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.